All right, welcome in everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to dig in.
So today we're going deep on this whole idea of peacemaking. And we're going to be using a passage from the Gospel of Matthew as our guide.
Okay.
Now, even if you're not, super religious or anything, I think this is going to be relevant for pretty much everyone because it really gets at those timeless principles of building bridges.
Yeah. I think especially in the world today, right? There's just so much conflict.
Oh, absolutely. And it feels like it's everywhere you look.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea that we can actually create peace, not just kind of deal with the fallout when things blow up, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Okay, so the passage we're looking at today is Matthew 5.9. It goes, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God."
Right.
So I think right off the bat, it's saying that peace isn't just, some passive state of being. It's something we have to actively work towards.
Absolutely. It takes effort.
Exactly. And I think that's where the source makes a distinction that I found really helpful, and that's between, peacekeeping
Right.
and peacemaking.
Yes, there's a big difference there. It's like
Right.
peacekeeping is kind of like that referee on a basketball court.
Yeah.
They're there to keep things from like totally getting out of control. They blow the whistle when someone steps out of bounds.
Wow.
But it's reactive, right? They're just reacting to what's already happening.
Right.
But peacemaking, that's different. That's more like, it's like building the basketball court in the first place. Creating a space where people can come together, maybe even like want to come together.
Okay, yeah, I love that. I love that analogy. So how do we build the court, so to speak? Like, what does the source say about, the actual traits of a peacemaker? What does it take?
Well, the first one they emphasize is humility.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people, when they hear humility, they think of, being a pushover or something.
Yeah, right.
But it's not that at all. It's more about recognizing that none of us has a monopoly on the truth. We're all kind of figuring things out as we go.
Yeah.
And there's some really interesting research on this. Like they found that people who express a bit of uncertainty in conversations, they're actually perceived as more trustworthy and more open-minded. It kind of invites dialogue instead of shutting it down.
It makes sense. I mean, if you come across as like the all-knowing expert all the time,
Yeah.
it can be pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes sense. So where does empathy fit into this? Because I feel like that's a word that gets thrown around a lot these days.
It does, yeah. But it's absolutely crucial, and the source is very clear on that.
Okay.
But it's more than just, feeling sorry for someone, right? It's about actively trying to see the world through their eyes, even when, or maybe especially when, you disagree with them.
Right.
It's asking yourself, like, why might a reasonable person hold this viewpoint even if I don't?
Yeah, yeah. Why is so important? It's about understanding the why behind someone's beliefs and actions. I feel like, honestly, that alone could just diffuse so many arguments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the next thing they talk about is this idea of balancing truth and grace.
Okay, yeah. That's a tricky one, I think, because sometimes the truth hurts.
It does.
But I guess it's about how you deliver that truth.
Exactly. It's not about just, hitting someone over the head with your opinion. It's about finding a way to speak truthfully, but also with kindness and compassion. And I think that's where finding that common ground can be so helpful. The source frames it in terms of, faith in Jesus.
Yeah.
But you can broaden that to any shared value you might have with the other person. Maybe it's love for your community, concern for the environment, or even just wanting the best for your kids. I think finding that shared value, that common ground, it creates a bridge even when you disagree on other things.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, speaking of disagreements, I feel like the source also brings up this challenge of how we judge others. Have you ever noticed just like how quick we are as humans to just make assumptions about people we barely know?
Oh, it's almost like a reflex.
Yeah.
But those snap judgments, they can be so dangerous,
Yeah.
It prevents us from really seeing each other, from understanding, all the experiences and all the different beliefs that have shaped each of us.
Right. And then, it goes on to talk about forgiveness, which, in my opinion, is one of the hardest things humans are asked to do.
It is. And there's a reason it's considered a virtue in so many cultures.
Right.
It takes a lot of strength to really, truly choose forgiveness. But here's the thing, though, that I find so fascinating. The research is pretty clear on this. Holding on to that resentment, that anger, it actually hurts us more than the person who wronged us. It keeps us trapped in that cycle of anger and pain. And so forgiving someone, even if they never apologize, it's like releasing this poison from our own system.
Wow, yeah. That's such a powerful image.
It is. It really is.
And I feel like it connects back to that theme of personal transformation,
Yeah.
Like we become peacemakers not just for the sake of others, but also for our own well-being.
Exactly. It changes us. And then I think the last thing that the source really emphasizes is this idea of focusing on unity over division.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, think about it. Have you ever been part of, like a team project or something where everybody's bickering and they're just focused on their own ideas? It's a mess.
Yeah.
It rarely ends well. But when you have that shared vision,
Right.
when everyone is, bought into that sense of purpose, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, yeah. It's like that saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So, I guess to bring this whole deep dive to a close, I think the main takeaway is this. Peacemaking is an active, ongoing process. It's not about, being passive or just avoiding conflict altogether.
Right.
It's about approaching those disagreements with humility, with empathy,
Hmm.
and just a willingness to find that common ground.
Beautifully put. Yeah, I think anyone can be a peacemaker, regardless of, their background or their beliefs. It starts with those small, everyday choices.
Yeah. So I guess I'll leave everyone with this question to ponder. What's one small step you can take today, right now, to be a peacemaker in your own world?
Yeah.
It could be as simple as, reaching out to someone you've had a disagreement with. Or maybe it's really listening to someone that you usually just kind of tune out. Or even just acknowledging the good in someone who you might see as, different from you.
Yeah, those little things can make a big difference.
They can. Because I think sometimes those tiny little acts of understanding, that's where peace starts to grow.
I completely agree.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Until next time.
See you then.